Hello, everyone. Jonathan Sarr here with Mark Howell. We are talking about career recession-proof tips. How can you go about, is that even possible to make your career recession-proof? Interesting question. So what are our objectives for today, Mark?
Absolutely. So yes, great question. First of all, is it even possible? But what we're going to talk about is, should we be searching for other jobs during a recession? So we're going to talk about that. That's a first great one. What can we do to prevent us from being the first ones let go during a recession? I have felt the pain of that before in my career. What questions should we be asking our employees, when you are maybe in the beginning or facing a recession? So I love these.
Yeah. Good questions. And I think the topic is, like, you and I both, we've been through a couple of recessions. It can be a little bit daunting watching the news, what's going on with inflation and anyway, that's the news. We're not going to talk about the news. You guys are already watching it, but those worries and those concerns can be there, and you start thinking about, well, I need to take care of my family. So where is my career? If something does happen, if there is some downturn, or even if it's just the company, you see that the company itself may be going through some changes where it's downsizing. What can we do about it? So that leads us to that first question. When things are bad, is that the time to be looking for another job? And this is definitely very, very opinionated. For me, my perspective, Mark, there's definitely two sides to the coin, and it's going to be very, very unique depending on where you are and
Sure.
what kind of recession that we're dealing with. Some experts state that that's the worst time to look for a job, is when there's a recession, that you should hunker down and stay there. But I don't know. What do you think, Mark?
Well, look, first of all, yes, this is very subjective for each individual person. I know that statement of, oh yeah, don't start looking for a job during a recession. But if you're fearful that your job could be cut, you almost don't have a choice.
Right.
So the advice I might give to someone when you are in a fearful situation would be to be honest and go to your employer and ask, how is the company set up? How are we structured? Would we need to make cuts? And if you want to do it in a way where you're not necessarily talking about your own position, then make it more broad. But if you have a comfortable relationship with your employer and that is a conversation you can have, why not? I think that you're facing the unknown either way. People would say, oh my gosh, I could never ask my employer that. But why not? If you are mature and you have enough confidence in the conversation, I don't see any problem going to the employment or to the employer and saying, what types of safeguards do we have in place during the time of recession? Maybe even during your interviewing process. Has your company felt the pain of any past recessions or in this current one? Because what you might find is that people I think people were very fearful about COVID. That was going to throw us all into some huge recession, but our industry boomed. And, it was fascinating to me that while the company and really globally things were shutting down and people's businesses were closing, the property management sector, we raised rents. We had the most increase of raised rents during these last few years. So fascinating to me, but a lot of people did get nervous. Now, I feel like you should be able to say to your company, are we set up to endure times of trouble? And
Right.
if your company cannot answer those questions, that to me is an indicator like, hey, maybe you should be ready. Maybe you should have your at least resume updated, keep socializing with people that, you could reach out to. Do I think you should be actively trying to jump ship? Of course not. I think that, you might be, I don't like the term, ruining your own career, shooting yourself in the foot when you're jumping, right? But I get it. I get wanting to be prepared, wanting to be proactive. I think that, again, very subjective. You would know how comfortable you feel in the organization. I myself went through a recession many years ago with a company that started depleting departments, and I was young. I wasn't savvy enough to ask them when this was happening, are we stable enough to endure? And the company was not. And my department got cut. And so I found myself kind of scrambling and trying to quickly pivot. And that can be very hard for most of us. I think they say the average American is living paycheck to paycheck. And when that paycheck stops, you're of course thinking about where is the next source of income coming from. I think it's natural.
Yeah. All good points. Yeah, absolutely. It's very subjective. So, but I think we've covered a lot right there about this is what you need to start thinking about. So in other words, don't put yourself in a situation where you're like, everything's beautiful and wonderful, and I live in a land of cupcakes and rainbows, and there's challenges. Businesses are always going to have challenges again. So whether it's on a national level, an international level, or on a local level, just be on the lookout, because there's very few companies that can that are what they term recession-proof, and or just go through different challenges. Changes in management, changes in leadership, and so those things you just have to kind of be on the lookout for. And I think you covered some excellent questions too, Mark, that if you're you're looking for work and you're being interviewed, that are excellent questions you should be asking an employer. So let's dive into kind of like our second objective. And I love this question. Again, no guarantee. We're not saying that if you listen to this advice or these comments, it's going to guarantee that you get to keep your job. But we wanted to talk about this because we want our audience to be prepared. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, talk about our new courses that are available, and Mark and I are going to dive back into that.
Are you in compliance? When employees make mistakes, everyone is at risk. Compliance training keeps your employees safe. Juvo Hub is happy to announce its new online course, Sexual Harassment Prevention and Training. Learn more about this course at juvohub.com, your helping hand in property management education.
So let's get into that, Mark. What can we do to help prevent ourselves from being the first ones that are let go in a recession? And you and I were chatting about this before we started recording this, and we started going down that path of not being so focused on what your job title is. So if you're the marketing director, I think in your case, when you mentioned you were going through, when you went through a recession, where you were the training director at that time, or?
Yep.
That's right. Training director, right? So, okay. So I'm the training director. I can see the writing on the wall. That department is about to be cut. What can we do to be of value? So how do we have to look at ourselves? So what are your thoughts on that, Mark? I'll let you kick it off.
Yeah. Look, I think that's something that we all should be thinking about the entire time we're employed. If you're only looking for your value at the end or during facing the beginning of a recession, then you might be too late. My advice would be make yourself more marketable in the organization that you're in today. So think about how can I cross train? How can I get more information about something that I might be passionate about along with what I'm doing? So I'll give you an example. Like if I'm training director, maybe I want to look into acquisitions or asset management or accounting. If I had a passion in any of those fields, or maybe it was marketing or something different, then I should be trying to build relationships in some of those departments and finding time to understand what they do and how the organization, how we work together, right? Like, what does my training offer to each and every department? When you start allowing yourself to build relationships with multiple departments in your organization, they will see you as valuable because you're having conversations with them. Well, how could we train some of our current employees to better assist you? I mean, if you look at any one of those departments, accounting, marketing, acquisitions, asset management, I mean, we all struggle with some type of learning about the process or the property, right? So I feel like we have this missed opportunity to constantly sort of be adding value to ourselves along the way. And look, if it comes to a point where your position might be in jeopardy, then you go to your leaders and say, here's where training brings value. Here is where marketing brings value. Here's how we save you money on the property end, or from a training perspective, here's how we stop turnover, and here are your turnover costs. Like sitting down with HR and finding out, understanding the numbers behind turnover rates was always a great thing for me. I would sit down with organizations and I would say, how much are you spending on turnover and what is your turnover percentage? And it was unheard of, and it still is that way today, right? And so I think we all have a great opportunity right now to do a little more due diligence on why our departments are powerful and what other departments would we want to partner with that give us a little bit more insight and education on what they do, so you could maybe pivot in the future, or how can you build more alliances inside your organization, meaning look at what I do for these departments. Like, you definitely don't want to cut me, man. All these departments would be hurting if you did. So I feel like it's something you should constantly be doing along the way.
Yeah, very good. Lots of takeaways from that, Mark. And here's what I heard from your comments. It's like there are other opportunities within the organization. So look for opportunities to be cross-trained and look for ways to showcase what you do and the value proposition it brings to the organization. So two big things that we should always be. So in other words, we don't just be like, we're not, okay, getting comfortable or getting complacent are the two C words that just don't work well when a company is going through potential challenges. So I thought that was fantastic. So good takeaways for everyone. Just, I'll let you give us a summary comment, Mark. But for me, the question being, is our career recession-proof? Can we make it recession-proof? I don't think so. I don't think there's anyone. And there's a lot of experts that will make some testimony about what you should and what you shouldn't do. I still don't feel like that's an absolute guarantee. But knowing that it's possible, there are plenty of things that you can do to make sure that you're available for whatever happens within your organization, and so that if you do have to go find another job, that you're in the best position to get rehired quickly somewhere else. Do you have any summary comments to add to that, Mark?
No, I think that's great. The only thing else I would say is, in our business, we talk a lot about value add, changing something to make it better, buying something that needs work. And I look at our careers as the same sort of way. You should always be trying to build value and value add on yourself for your career. Where can you add and build value in your own career? If your company is willing to send you to your local apartment association for additional education or certifications in anything, maybe it's even maintenance related or whatever it is, they're willing to send you to pay for these. A lot of us, we joke about going to the conferences, and most people spend a lot of time drinking and eating expensive food, but you really should be going to the sessions and finding out what are the trends, where was the value and the value add for yourself and your career in some of those sessions. Did you take away something very important that could make you more valuable to your company, your organization?
Excellent. Excellent. Great episode. Mark, thank you as always for your insight. Mark Howell from Howell Creative Concepts. How can people stay in touch with you?
Yes, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Mark Howell, Howell, or you can find my company, howellcreativeconcepts.com, which Howell there is spelled Howl.
Very good. Yeah, make sure you book Mark Howell for your leadership conference training. He is a rock star. Right on. All right, man. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for tuning into our show. Make sure you subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast station or on YouTube. Be sure to check out juvohub.com, where you'll see our newly released online courses that are there for your property management company. So thank you, everyone. Until next time, class dismissed. Take care.
Bye-bye.